Many we went through, because it is always a continuation. See, the whole LOM for the initial sections has been divided into 4 chapters. Right? So, is it on? So it's been divided into 4 chapters. Okay? In that we already discussed in the previous session about what is LOM about, why is it important, and what can you go about. What else you've done? You learned about what is a root, what is a combining form, what is some basic rules and regulations, not limited to language of medicine. You can apply this for any general point also. Okay? General in the sense, for a medical term, I gave an example of a normal. If you divide the term normal, root AL is suffix, that is pertaining to norm, is known as normal. Do you get it? That's just another rules, you learned it. And then you learn some more terminologies related to medical. You learn, right? Like cardio, hepato, like that, you learn that. So the more you speak, the better you become. Now, coming back, for the second chapter, what we have, this is kind of a bit of a longer chapter. We'll divide this into 2 sessions. You all get it? So that you can take it in. This is what we talk about is majorly, what are we made up of? What are you made up of? That's it. It's just made up of cells. So the whole body structure is what we're going to talk about. And then we have cavities. I'm not talking about your dental cavity. The overall body as a cavity is what we're going to talk about. Then abdominal, we have something known as regions. Okay, why is it important? How it is important? When I come to that, I'll explain to you. Alright. So that is known as your regions and quadrants. Then division of your spinal cord. Alright. Then very important is the positions and directions, which you will face sometimes supine, like that, lying on your back, inclined, like that. There is something known as positions. Okay, that will be explained to you along with that planes, not your different aeroplane. No. This is known as planes, sagittal plane, transverse plane, horizontal planes. Like that is what is the one more important terminologies which is important. Something related to medicine in normal day-to-day life also this will be useful. Clear? Then we go back to your combining forms, prefixes, suffixes. This is short, not more, but it is short there. And then your exercises. Clear? Exercises will be done by you. What? Preferably I'll cut that part of it. Maybe I'll keep that as a separate voice recording of mine where there will be answer keys. You do it yourself. Unlike the first chapter what we did, where I did it. Let us not take our time. You put your own effort, then it'll become a sample for you too. You want the keys, I'll give you keys, but you put your effort. Fair? Can we go ahead and start this? The very first, the second chapter. What are you made up of? What are you made up of?
Cells.
I think that in your school days you studied.
Yes.
So I'm going to be very quick. Only what is required. I'm not going to go line by line. What is it? No. A cell. Now what is a cell? We have the actual fundamental unit of a living tissues, plant cells, animal cells, that you have heard. In that we have a different sections. You see in the diagram, we have like, what is the basics, where is the most important part? Since the center part is known as nucleus. Correct? The outer thing is known as cell membrane. Like that, in this chapter on the PPT we'll talk about. Now what is a cell membrane? Which covers the whole structure is known as cell membrane. Correct? Then the nucleus is a controlling structure that has. Now within the nucleus we have very important terminology for you to learn would be chromosomes. What is chromosomes? Chromosomes are a rod-like structure, alright, within the nucleus. Did you understand? We talk about cell membrane, nucleus, inside that chromosomes. They are rod-like structures. All human body cells, every cell will have how much? 23 pairs of chromosomes. Pairs. You always give me a pair. Except for one cell, that is your sex cells, that is your egg and sperm. There will be one only, separate. They combine and then they become a pair. Clear? Okay. Then the embryo in the form of 23 chromosomes will form. The chromosomes contains a region in that is known as genes. There are several. Have you heard that? They keep talking about this is there in your gene. I'm not talking about GEAN. This is GEN. Clear?
Clear.
Whichever gene that is. Every gene that have. In that genes, what is there? is composed of something known as DNA. Anabolism, catabolism, together called as metabolism. Some people, metabolism, why is it important is some people who is very active, that is known as basal metabolic rate, we call it as BMR activity, basal metabolic rate. They tend to have lot of activity. They keep on running and jogging and stuff and all happening, which I found it rare happening usually. Their BMR level is high. Why? Because the burning is so much, energy generated is so much, their BMR rate will become, basal metabolic rate is high. Whereas somebody sitting only in a chair, not hardly moving around, working only on the process and not happening, they keep on increasing weight or something. What happens? Their BMR level is low. I'm not pointing at anybody, but you could understand. This could be all clear? Understood till now? Can I recap now quickly? Though it is taking time for me to tell this, see how fastly I'm going to recap. 1. Cell. Cell membrane. Nucleus. Chromosome. Genes. DNA. Extra chromosome. Disease. Trisomy 21. Over. Next. Outside the nucleus, cytoplasm. Two major components. Endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria. Mitochondria, catabolism. Endoplasmic reticulum, anabolism. Combination of this, metabolism. With me? Same thing, the repetition in the study section. Wherever the chapter, if you see study section, important. Remember in your school days, you put this, very, very important. Understand. I hope you are smart. See that? Process of building up of a process is known as anabolism. These all are definitions, important. Alright? Process of breaking down of complex materials into simple forms to release energy is known as catabolism. They break the major one into small to reduce energy. That is catabolism. Cell membrane structure surrounding the surrounding. Chromosome rod-shaped structures that contain the regions of DNA. Okay, there are 23 pairs. Cytoplasm is all the materials that is outside the nucleus and yet contained within the cell membrane. DNA is a chemical found within each chromosome arranged in a sequence. They're all is arranged in a particular sequence, okay, in a coded fashion. That is what is known as DNA helical structure, we call it as. Any small little change will have problems. And we study about it, okay. Endoplasmic reticulum is a structure within the cytoplasm in which the large proteins are made from small proteins. You can put anabolism over here. You can understand that. In textbook, this is that, right? Given it. Regions of a DNA within. Karyotype is picture of. Karyotype is important for you to understand. Picture of chromosomes in the nucleus of a cell. We take chromosome picture. Why? Are arranged in a numerical order. To know about the DNA, how it is done. Metabolism is total chemical process that includes both catabolism and anabolism. Mitochondria is structure in the cell which puts up bone to release energy. It is not nucleus, it is nucleus. Control center of the cell, it contains chromosomes direct the activity of a cell. It directs the activity of a cell. Done? Yes. Now, a group of cells, there are different types of cells again. Now we have done what is a cell, we understood. Do you have only one type of cell? No. According to where it is located, there are different types of cells. At the same time, a group of cells makes it tissue. A group of tissue makes a organ. A group of organ makes a system, like cardiovascular system, respiratory system, urinary system. A group of system makes human body. Again, cell, group makes tissue, organ, system, human body. Clear? Simple? Now we'll go. I gave a highlight. Now we'll deep dive a little bit more inside. Which are the types of cells which will be there? Which are the types of tissues which could be there? Little bit type. Alright? Different types of cells. What we have, any cell that surrounds the surrounding or the inner lining is known as epithelial cells. Clear? You have to remember some terminologies now. Any for the male, it will be testis, associated tubes, urethra, penis, prostate gland for the reproductive system. Next, endocrine, thyroid, the neck, pituitary, the base of the brain. Remember, pituitary is just like a pea. You understand a small pea? Botany or whatever you call it, pea set. Okay, it will be only so much, but it's a very important gland for many activities like your growth. Many other glands will need it in the endocrine system. Okay? Pituitary gland at the base of the brain, sex glands, adrenal glands, pancreas, parathyroid, and thymus. You don't have to remember all this, but I'm just talking about just the systems. All right. Nervous. It starts with the brain, then there's a spinal cord, and then the nerves and collection of nerves is there. Circulatory system, like your heart, blood vessels, arteries, veins, and capillaries. Okay. A blood which goes away from the heart is known as artery. Carries pure blood. Blood which goes inside to the heart is known as veins. What you see this, that is vein, not artery. Blue color, deoxygenated blood. Except for two, I'll tell you in the cardiovascular system. Okay? Away, A for a, arteries. Towards veins. Understood? Simple. Muscular system is muscles. To support is known as skeletal, like your bones and joints. Skin. Dermato. Skin, hair, nail, sweat glands, sebaceous system. Now, in the whole language of medicine, actually we are supposed to study all the systems in depth. Each one. What is the normal anatomy? What is the physiology? Means how it works normally. Then, what is the pathology? For that, what is the diseases that can happen? Diseases pathology. What investigations and what treatment usually can happen. That is how you study medicine. But before that, we are giving this 4th chapter about all these basic factors. Alright? Clear?
Yeah.
So, what are the systems again? Digestive, urinary, endocrine, nervous, circulatory, muscular, skeletal, skin. These are the chapters. Actually, to say there are 18 chapters in total, you are studying for the first 4. The first volume, you're talking about 4. The remaining 14 chapters is about each one, but again, one chapter is about only different investigations only. But anyhow, this is what is about medicine. Explained in a similar fashion. Are we good till now?
Yes.
Okay. Can we go further?
Yes.
Same study section is there about explaining all of them. You can run through when you study. Now comes the second important topic that is known as cavities. Clear? Can we go for cavities? Now cavities means the spaces that is available within your body. Like in your head, that is known as cranial cavity. The naming can be done in your respective books. Academy people can open the book and then you start naming right away with me. Page number 35. Good. The first one is known as cranial cavity. Cranial cavity means the cavity space which is available in your head is known as cranial cavity. What could a cranial cavity have? Brain and pituitary gland. The first one you will name it as cranial cavity. Cranium. Alright, in the brain is there. Brain again, different parts are there. We'll study later. But again, and then the pituitary gland. Next comes below is your thoracic cavity. You can make note. Others could make note of that. First is brain. Remember this. Cranial cavity. Second one is thoracic cavity. Now, what is thoracic cavity? What does it have? We're talking about what is the name and what all it contains. What does the thoracic cavity will have? It will have lungs. You understand lungs, right? Along with that, there is heart in center. Then there is esophagus, is your food pipe, trachea, bronchial tubes. Thymus gland is one more extra that will be present, along with aorta, the large artery. Okay, can you all see the diagram? It talks about esophagus, trachea will branch into bronchial tubes. Okay, bronchial tubes. The center space is known as mediastinum. This space is known as mediastinum, which contains what? Heart, lungs, and the both This cavity and this cavity is differentiated by a muscle that is known as diaphragm. Diaphragm. Clear? Cranial cavity, thoracic cavity, abdominal cavity. Below that, your hip region is known as pelvic cavity. What does it have? Urinary bladder, urethra, excretory organs usually. Ureter, uterus, vagina in the females, penis in the males. Clear? Next, spinal cavity is behind, where you have a nerves of the spinal cord. I repeat, 5 cavities, cranial, understand? Only understand, don't try to remember. Cranial, thoracic, abdomen, pelvic, spinal. 5 cavities. Understood? You'll have different structures. In the study section, you'll keep reading about this, then it will become familiarized for you. Alright? Same study section is there. Cranial cavity pertaining to skull. Okay? Diaphragm is a muscle that differentiates the thoracic and this. These all are important terms. Study section is important. You get this. Be thorough with the study section. It's for your knowledge. Right? Dorsal means always pertaining to back. Again, that will come in. You want to repeat this in position dorsiflex. What is this ventral dorsal? Dorsal means behind, pertaining to behind. Okay? Mediastinum, the space between the lungs. What does it have? Heart. Cardio. Alright? Pelvic cavity, peritoneum, pleura, double layer membrane, pleural cavity, spinal cavity, thoracic cavity, ventral, opposite of dorsal is ventral, pertaining to front. Front is ventral, back is dorsal. This is very, very important. As we go on in the next 2 sections, I'm going to talk to you about it. Alright? Clear till now? Let's go back, recap from the beginning. One more. Cell. Let's time this. Hold on, alright? Cell, nucleus, chromosome, gene, extra chromosome, trisomy 21. Outside the nucleus, cytoplasm, mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, mitochondria, catabolism, endoplasmic reticulum, anabolism, combination, metabolism. Study of this is known as karyotype. Clear? Yes. Understood till now? See, same thing I repeated. Next, cells. Different types of cells. Epithelial cells, muscle cells, connective tissue cells like adipose. Tissues. Study of tissues, histology. You'll have inner lining and all, that is known as epithelial tissues. Next, other types of tissues is known as muscle tissues. Voluntary muscle, involuntary muscle. Connective tissues is your blood, fat tissues, cartilage, nerve tissue for conduction of impulse. Organ, viscera is important. Any internal organ is known as viscera organs. Okay, viscera, viscous. Systems, different types of systems, 10 body systems. Digestive, urinary, respiratory, reproductive, endocrine, nervous, circulatory, muscular, skeletal, skin and system. These chapters of these systems, major ones, I will send out a mail for everybody. Whoever is interested, you can like cardiovascular system. It's fantastic chapter for you to learn, just for a general knowledge. Or muscular system. We can take chapters. Again, 2 hours, 3 hours training will do that. Those who are interested could nominate and then you can take the session. Clear till now? Absorb? Is this a good recap till now? And then, now comes the cavities. Cranial cavity, abdominal cavity, thoracic cavity, abdominal cavity, then pelvic, spine. Understood? Front is known as ventral, dorsal. Your cranial cavity and spinal is known as dorsal cavities. Front, thoracic, abdomen, pelvic. Your questions will also be like this. Which are the ventral cavities? Thoracic, abdomen, pelvic. Which is your dorsal? Spine. They will not ask what is dorsal. This is not school. What are the dorsal cavities? Because it goes back, cranial, spine. Understood? Did I cover that both points? It is a recap of this. What does it contain? Mediastinum contains your heart. Okay. heart, aorta, trachea, esophagus, thymus gland, and bronchial tube. Okay. Just for the structure point of view, your lumbar region comes. Next, inguinal or iliac. So right inguinal or iliac region, left iliac or inguinal region. That's it. What we do is we mention RL or RI like this. The regions are mentioned usually. Okay, which are now. Now I repeat: umbilical, epigastric, hypogastric. Right hypochondriac, left hypochondriac. Right lumbar, left lumbar. Right iliac, left iliac. Simple. Can you all write down once and so that you can memorize this? You understood now. Start with it. You can make that 9 columns, alright, 9 kinds of a box, and then you can do that. Umbilical is the center box. You made this one? Umbilical region, epigastric, hypogastric. Then right hypochondriac, left hypochondriac. Right hypochondriac, left hypochondriac. Then lumbar, right lumbar, left lumbar. Next, iliac, ILIAC or inguinal, both are, they use it. Right inguinal, 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 right inguinal or left inguinal. Alright. These are the 9 abdominopelvic regions. How many are there? 9. Okay? With me till now?
Yes.
So, next, the divisions of the back is what will come. If you remember, you have your back spinal cord, right? So, there is divided into 5 different parts. I'll just mention this. Maybe we'll recap this in the next session and then go over. I'll just mention and then let's go into the session. First, on your neck region is known as cervical. Cervical. Then, thoracic, T. Lumbar, just a minute. Sacral, coccygeal. Coccygeal means your tailbone. You think you have a tail? Yes, no.
No tailbone.
Yes. See here. Cervical, C1 to C7. Each bone have a number. C1 to C7. Okay. Then T1 to T12. Thoracic. Third. L1 to L5. Okay. Then sacral. Sacral bone, coccygeal bone. Sacral, coccygeal. Sacral is also S1 to S5. Usually, if you see the slip disc or back pain happens between the S3, S4. Understand S3, S4 now? That is your sacral bones, right? After lumbar bones, we have S3. The last is coccygeal bone. Actually, there are 4 bones which is fused. That is known as coccyx or coccygeal bones. Simple? Done. The next chapter, when we come back to the next session, I'm going to talk to you about your different quadrants. You can read and come though. Quadrants, we have again only 4 quadrants. We'll talk about it next. Then once these quadrants are done, divisions of backs has been done, related studies, we talk about positions. This. Try to name this and come, read about this, and especially study section in this. The most important part of it. That's it. The chapter will get over and then we get into combined course. Are we clear? So, just to recap quickly, we spoke about the cell, what all it has inside part of it, one disease we explained today, like Down syndrome.